I'm here to talk tonight with my colleague Yvan Yenda, and our topic is trust and the importance of social networks, trusted networks of informants, and social capital, both digitally created and created through person-to-person relationships. I'm also going to talk about a project that I worked on in Katanga province in the Democratic Republic of Congo. This is a very mineral-rich area, as is the whole Congo, with a long history of mining, both large-scale and small-scale mining. And in fact, a lot of the mining, or at least a large portion, of what is mined are rare minerals that go into the small devices that we carry around with us, making it possible to make these small mobile devices. So we all carry around a bit of the Congo with us in our pockets. Yvan and I nearly met in the Congo in Katanga when I was there in 2010 visiting his mother's house. He had just left the house briefly before I got there, so we didn't actually meet in person while I was visiting in Katanga, but we connected later via social networks, via email and Skype, and now we've met in person. So we are building our social trusted relationship via digital mediated means, and family, friends, and professional colleagues as well. So I did a couple of information sharing projects, but the last one I did is the one I want to really talk about, which was an information design project to share pricing information, local pricing information for copper, cobalt, and maize to help small farmers and artisanal miners to share pricing information so that when middlemen came to buy their commodities, they would have more information about what a fair price would be for their work, so that the middlemen and the miners and the farmers didn't really have that much of a trusted network. So I worked with colleagues in Katanga. We thought about how people use their mobile phones, how they want to use their mobile phones, how many bits you could get in a text message, an SMS system message. We thought about a controlled vocabulary in Swahili so that people that couldn't read very much could still use the pricing system delivered with simple messages on their phones. I worked with colleagues in the Congo. I worked with my students, my graduate students, and engineering professors, and we were all asking all kinds of questions about what this pricing system might look like. And then we came to the question that ultimately derailed the project, and that was who would provide this information about local prices, what would be fair local prices. Would it be the potential buyer? Would it be the potential seller? And one of my graduate students who was a financial analyst for a bank did an analysis of the system that we were building, and he came back with the finding that the system would motivate people to cheat and not to provide fair and honest information. And you could put that system here in Newark, you could put it in the middle of Iowa, you could put it in Lubumbashi, and whoever was using the system would probably not report honest information. So we weren't really part of the informal networks of price-sharing information that surely exist among small farmers and artisanal miners. But because we were not part of those networks, we did not have social capital to actually go ahead with this system. I also began to suspect that making formal information that was circulating in informal networks, even though it wasn't a perfect system with the informal networks, it might be that, especially for the miners, that making a commodity out of this information might actually worsen their situation in relationship to mine owners and soldiers and the middlemen, because those groups of people had better access to the mobile phones than the miners did. So ultimately, we suggested to our client that the best trusted pricing information that they could use at this point was from the stock exchange in Johannesburg for the minerals and for the Ethiopian commodity exchange for the agricultural commodities. And these did represent trusted information networks, even though they were not as local as our client had wanted. So this, at that point, I felt like I was standing in a collapsed research project that looked kind of like this bridge in Minneapolis where I was working at the time that collapsed. And it was quite devastating to me personally to think that the years of work that I had done on this project with so many people, the connections that I had made with people in the Democratic Republic of Congo would come to naught. But when I gathered my wits about me, I thought, you know, there has got to be something important in this project, something to think about and learn from this project, even though the information design element of the project was not successful. And so what I came to believe about this situation and about this story of a failed research project was that the questions about the nature of our connections were what is important here. And I thought more about the artisanal miners who work in the dirt with their hands, spending their lives so that we can have devices, and the devices that we want more and more, and how our demand for devices and new technologies impacts people who will never have access to those technologies themselves. So, so it seemed to me that there was a network of people who are connected, and yet some of the people who enable our connections, we don't hear their voices as much as perhaps we should, because they're not yet participating in this network of connections. And that's where I'm going to hand off this presentation to my colleague Yvan to talk more about forming ethical networks.
Hi. Yeah, exactly. When you find yourself in the middle of nowhere, not knowing what to do with your project because lacking a formal network, probably the next question you might have in mind is that of knowing exactly what to do and what kind of network you need for you to build up your project and to continue. Therefore, there are different kinds of networks that one needs to build. As Bernadette said earlier on, there are informal networks that you might try to work on. But in the continuity of this presentation, I would like personally to focus on what we call the formal network of trust. And this formal network of trust is basically connecting the business community with local community and consumers. Often, when we use, for instance, our mobile phones and our devices, it's easier for us to be in touch with the manufacturing industry or any business community, but we don't think often about our connections with a local community or the workforce. So for us to build that network, that formal network of trust, there are different actors involved in the process. As you can see, the first stage, we have the workforce. People are working at a level of production. And then we have the middlemen. The middlemen have to make it clear here, sometimes it can be estates. And then we have the multinational companies that operate, invest their money, do whatever they can in order to make profits. And then we have manufacturing industry, trying to transform the raw material into final product that we have. And then the last stage, we have consumers, you and me. But let's see now the role of each actors involved in the process. We have, first of all, the workforce. These people are just day and night, busy working out on the ground, trying to come up with raw materials and to sell it out there. But something is happening within their living conditions. Many of them are very poor, and almost no one cares about their social and economic status and condition. And their living condition, just like that. But still, they are the ones who are starting the whole economic process of us having cell phones and everything. And then comes the picture, the middleman. He has one philosophy: I'm just doing my business. What kind of business? I'm connecting the buyer to the workforce, the guy who's selling raw material. So he's basically doing good. And in mind, he's saying, once I'm doing this, I don't care about their working conditions because that is not part of my goals or my business. And then this big brother in the picture, multinational companies. They trust too much the middleman because actually the middleman knows the grounds. And they trust him and say, all right, we trust the middleman. We know that he pays well and he recruits good people on the ground. Let us just do our business. And you see, the level of trust that they have is not connected directly to local community, but that level of trust is connected to the middleman. And then after doing that, they have to sell out the product in the manufacturing industry, and these people have to answer one need, my need and your need as consumers. Tired of your smartphone, saying to yourself, I need a new one, I need more. This one can access Facebook, Twitter, I need a very new one. So this is kind of life and the world where we're living, and we still have that kind of trust, that network, but somehow we don't really think about our connection at different levels. And then we say, all right, if the middleman or the workforce can be connected to the middleman, and the middleman connected to multinational, and then it'll connect to manufacturing industry, and at last we are connected them. What about our connection as consumers with the workforce? It seems like that picture doesn't come out at all because I don't know who's producing this, so I don't really care about. But the very interesting part of this is like we can be connected in one way or another. But how can we connect? Because we cannot fly from here and going anywhere, probably in Africa or somewhere else in Latin America, to connect with those people on the ground. But we can do our part by connecting to the multinational and manufacturing industry. Basically, how can we connect with multinational corporations? We can ask them to respect their corporate social policy or corporate social responsibility. You know, we sometimes tired of policies. We need them to implement those policies. So we can do that, saying, sir, we love you, but what we want is you to fulfill your mandate. And regarding manufacturing industry, we can tell them, all right, we like your smartphone, we need that, but one thing, make sure that you know clearly, or you can have the certification of the product that you're using. And that term, we can talk about the traceability of the product that we're using in our cell phones and all digital technological devices. And then, can we really do that? Yes, we can. What do we have in mind or with us as means to do that? This is a good man who has his dog going missing and then want to find him back. Put post out there, use Facebook stage or as social media or Twitter saying, if someone can help me to find my dog, you have a good world. If we can do that for this little chihuahua, that's going amazing. I'm imagining right now me losing my passport around here. I would be asking everyone, say, please, can you find my passport because I need that to go back and travel around. So if I can use that platform and social media to make it happen, how much more can we try our best to use the same platform to make voices of people out there who are actually voiceless to be heard outside and to improve their living conditions? I believe strongly that we have power. As I'm finishing out the word Bernadette to come, I believe strongly that we have power. We have all means, but sometimes we don't think deep. We don't think about strategies that we can have, smaller they can look, but we have those strategies. Let us just use them to build our connections as consumers with the workforce. And at that early stage, we can say we have built trust between us, consumers, and the workforce. Thank you very much.
Thank you.